Courtney Difel and the Razorback softball team add a couple of pair transfers, and the Razorback baseball team does as well. This is the Razorback Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson, and I'm your host, Jason Pattyson, here on YouTube Live, hogville.net. And welcome, everybody. It's a Friday afternoon. It's warm outside. Summer is definitely upon us. And I've got Dudley Dawson here for the Razorback Diamond Report. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I guess it's fully summer now. So as of yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? I don't know. So doing good. How about
that? Yeah, staying busy. Courtney Difel and Dave Van Horn, they've been busy on the recruiting trail and also the the transfer portal trail as well. Looks like Courtney's got a couple of SEC transfers that are going to really serve them well here coming up.
soon. I think 4 total. Bree Ellis is probably the highlighted one because of what she's done inside the conference already. 34 home runs in 2 years. She's very outspoken. I like that. She has, I think is going to come in and step in and give Arkansas a big power threat there. They didn't have that as much last year up and down the lineup. Certainly they had Ryland who was knocking them out of there, and Kylie and all that. But I think that she's added a couple of pitchers, first baseman, and then the Big Ten hits leader, who was just one off of the NCAA lead, Nia Carter. So just, some outstanding players for her. You already had a top recruiting class coming in. So I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah. And that's another thing that you look at with Courtney is that she keeps reloading. She's not having to go back to the drawing board and revamp the offense or the pitching staff. She has the set core. It's just that she's kind of plucking a little bit from the transfer portal into some spaces that she needs help with. And and not only that, the ladies that she's bringing in are such a high caliber.
Yeah, and I guess 6 pitchers now when you include Reese Berline from Mississippi State and Morgan Lantock from Southern Miss, who won 13 games last year. So that's 6 pitchers now. You've got obviously Shanice Elsie being out, graduating, moving on to play pro ball. You have to restock there, but not only she restock, but she's got 6 as far as we know, everybody's coming back. So that's going to give them a lot of arms to take in a lot of innings. And we'll see if somebody rises above, whether it's Carmen Zun, however they decide to go there, whether they stretch it out and use a lot of people or lean on somebody more heavily than others.
Most definitely. Quick note too, and Shanice Delsa's first appearance with Oklahoma City was a shutout complete game win as well.
Not surprised at all.
All right, so staying with softball for just a second, looks like Hannah Gamble's making some waves on the national circuit. She made the USA squad that's going to be going over to Japan here in a couple months.
Yeah, that's a nice little trip. I guess it's in August. She did not have the year that she wanted. I think she'd admit that hitting wise, but I think one of those things is she put a lot of pressure on herself because with all of her former standouts, having graduated and gone on, she was focused on. Certainly had some big hits there late. Game come around. I think she'll come back and have a great year. And what a great trip to go on in August when it's 120 here.
Yeah, that's going to be a real nice trip. I wonder if Taylor Ellsworth is going to be over in Japan at the same time that Team USA heads over there, because I know that she's over there playing pro ball right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They don't know how the overseas softball schedules go, but certainly any competition you can get, and especially it's great for them to get that competition and to travel at least a little bit. I know that I like to go cover destinations that are fun. Nothing against Starkville. I mean, Starkville's been fine to me, but Hawaii, Starkville, a little different. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody would be completely on board with a tropical destination. So, also another quick note, and I want to bring this up for just a second, and I wonder if with Gamble and how it affected her last year. I did a story on her for the Arkansas Traveler, and I didn't see it really reported, but she had actually broke both of her legs in I guess a fluke accident of some sort. It was a minor breaks, but she had broke both of her shins in the offseason, and that's why she didn't play fall ball.
Yeah, and that's obviously a reason. Anything that happens with your lower base, especially, people don't think about that as much in terms of hitting, but the base is very important. And Nolan Arenado has really preached on that a lot, and you can see when he makes adjustments, it's from his lower half, not really his upper half. And so, yeah, anytime you have injuries that deal with that, it's going to take you a while, not only to come back from them, but also get to a point where you're just comfortable in the box. And I think that's so important to be comfortable, at the plate and just go. And then once you start, once you have success getting a hit, then it just continues to roll. But if you don't, and it just continues to roll too, then love Nolan Gorman that plays for the Cardinals, because I think it's 7 of his last 77 with 36 strikeouts. Still like number 2 or 3 in RBIs in the league, but it's just been a woeful month because they've adjusted to him. They found a hole in his swing, and that goes on at every level, and especially up there. They're especially smart up in the major leagues.
And let's switch gears here for just a second. So, Dave Van Horn and company, they are definitely adding from the portal as well. I think there's a couple of new hogs that they got on board.
Yeah, I think 5 total. And when you include the young man, Will Edmondson, the outfielder from Hutchinson Community College, who kind of got in before the portal started, firing up. And he's an outfielder that was the Jayhawk Conference Player of the Year. Someone that seems similar to Tavion Josenberger. But then you add Jack Wagner, and as I was telling Courtney on Big Trail Nation the other night, it's going to be hard for me to not go Jared Wagner. Jack Wagner. I'm going to have to adjust for that all year, but he's now outfielder / first baseman from Tarleton State. Previously played right field when Josenberg was in Kansas, so he could play either one of those positions. Had a big year last year, 15 home runs, 56 RBIs. Led his team in hitting. Hoye Aloe, the Hawaiian-born young man who played at Sacramento State last year, big pickup for them. Certainly a guy who brings more pop to the position than John Bolton did. And Harold Cole, who, by the way, I saw has transferred to Houston. He'll be playing down there. Then you've added in, the left-hander from Kansas. In all his appearances, he's only started 1 game, and Stone is a guy that I think is going to be durable for him. You don't go get those type of guys unless you've got a specified role for them. And, they usually know, what they're thinking about there. Hudson White was the first one in, the catcher from Texas Tech, who was Aloy was a freshman All-American. He's had 2 really good years at Texas Tech where he's been the catcher, and I think that he's more of a combination guy, defensively and offensively, than maybe Parker Rowland and Hudson Polk and those guys are.
Yeah.
And then now all you got to do, and they may add a few more people, but now all you got to do is worry about. I forgot Ty Wilmsmeyer, the Missouri kid who's played center fielder for them the last couple of years. I got a chance to talk with him. He's very excited about coming down here, pretty close to his home, Springfield, Missouri, and he's heard a lot of good things from from people down here. Even though, ironically, he's played in 13 of the 14 SEC parks, but Missouri hasn't played here during his time up there, which is just nuts.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. And then you've got you've got the whole thing July 9th through 11th, the Major League Baseball draft. Then I think they have till July 25th to decide whether they're signing or not. So that's going to be some the typical time that baseball coaches have to do during the summer these days is worrying about how many of that top-ranked recruiting baseball class that they have are going to get through here. Walker Martin says all the right things, but
Yeah.
I'm a Razorback signee and planning on being down there, but that young man's going to get drafted in the top 30. It looks like, and be throwing a lot of money at him, and it'll be tough for him. I wish him the best. And you see these guys, you see a lot of these guys these days who choose to go to college developmental wise, but there's just a Peyton Stovall being an example. I think it's been reported that he was offered over $2 million, but wanted to come to school and get better and make more down the line. It's a tough pull, but there's a line there somewhere. I don't know where the line is for each young man and his family, but about 6 of them are going to be tough decisions, or as Coach Van Horn described it, we're going to get smoked in the Major League Baseball draft.
Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of happened more times than not here in the last couple of years, and it's because of the type of player he's been recruiting, or they play at such a high level, and you really hope to get them on board, but then the money, like you said, that line, you just never know where it's at with these kids. And some kids, they're wired to say, I'm going to play college baseball no matter what. And sometimes it's fluff, sometimes it's not. But sometimes in those kids' hearts, they know that they can get better at the college level sometimes than riding a bus 12 hours to go play another park. And 2 days later or 3 days later, they're on another bus going somewhere else, versus having the comforts and luxuries of travel at a the level of college baseball. I think that does really kind of weigh on their options.
Yeah, and another thing I'd say is whether it's their lawyers / pseudo agents / parents, they have all done a really good job at when asked a question by the media, are you going to come here, or what will it take for you to go to the pros? They all have been coached very well when they say, oh, I'm right now I'm signed with the University of Arkansas. That's where I'm planning on going. If a big offer comes along, my family and I'll consider to do what's best for us. I think just say yes or no. But they've all been coached, very well on that.
Have to go a little Tom Cruise on them from A Few Good Men. Put him, pinhole him, and maybe try to get that right, not the right answer, but the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's another thing too. Have there been any rumblings that you've heard that players that might be transferring out, other than the people that we have already heard?
It's interesting because I have not heard anything with validity. There are guys that came in as freshmen that didn't get to play, and I don't think we're not going to dance around it. Mason Neville and Jason Jones are a couple that probably thought they would be playing a lot more, and they were given an opportunity, just didn't work out early on, and then kind of fell by the wayside. Those are two guys that you watch, just like you do in basketball or football. When you don't play maybe what you think you should, you move on. But I hadn't heard anything, and you would have thought that they probably would have moved on if that was, if they were going to do that, if that was the case. So maybe it's tied to the draft, all this. But I guess right now, everybody looks, other than Harold Cole, everybody looks like they're, coming back since the season ended, at least that.
And you also have to look at with Florida and LSU. They've played their butts off in Omaha. They've made it to the final. I also think that there might be some movement, possibly. I'm not saying that I know anything inside any more than anybody else does. You know more than I do about all that. But I feel like sometimes after a College World Series final or a final of some sort happens, you start to see a little bit more movement because coaches are now no longer focused on the task at hand. They're looking at the future after that.
Yeah, that's one thing Ty Wilsmeyer said about Coach Van Horn. Even when they were going through the regional, they were talking to him, talking to other recruits, looking at next year, even with, while they were trying to get wins, in the regional. So you have to do that. You have to recruit 24/7, 365 these days in every sport. Talked to a lot of coaches recently about the dead period in high school and how, it's good for the athletes to get a chance to wind down and not have to come to workouts and all. That's also good for the coaches and good for the coaches' marriages. It seems a lot, because this is the time when they'll take their vacations with their families. So.
Definitely. Whenever the staff kind of comes back and they start to kind of format a game plan for August, rolling into September, going into Fall World Series in October. One of the things that's been discussed before out and around in message boards, social media, is the training staff with the Razorback baseball team. There were a lot of injuries on the team. There have been people that have pointed to the whole fact that the trainer that they had in place was somebody that was brand new to not only Arkansas, but as in baseball in general. Is it something that Dave Van Horn and staff looks at?
Well, here's what I tell you. The best and brightest that we have are on social media. They know everything, have got everything down, or there's so many great coaches on Twitter. And certainly they're knowledgeable people out about this. It's something to worry about. We asked Coach Van Horn about it plenty of times. He pointed out, as he should, that there are many over the course of the season. Many people in the SEC, which obviously we focus on more than anything, but at other schools that had injuries, that had to deal with it. It just seems like more because it's the team you cover or the team you root for, because of the expectations you had. Jackson Wiggins, Brady Tiger, all of those that got injured. But I think that, as he has also pointed out, they're comfortable with their training staff. Yeah, don't hire somebody if this is like a dude's first day first day in the field. And you don't get those kind of jobs here at these kind of big businesses / college athletic programs unless you know what you're doing. It was just a rash of injuries that happened a lot at the same time. You think about Cody Frank. He threw a pitch and kept throwing pitches, but was hurt. It just I don't push the concerns to the side, but I am. And I certainly, let me be clear, I certainly don't believe everything coaches tell me. Coaches, kids, recruits, and all that. But I do think that he's pointed out a lot of good things. And I also think, and I've said this a lot, and I may sound like an old dude, but these kids these days specialize in one sport, and they go year round. They throw, pitchers, and obviously the vast, injuries were pitchers there till the late in the season. They throw too many stress innings. They throw too much period. It is so much better for me, I think, for a young man, young woman to vary themselves, play different sports, and not just focus on one sport year round and continue to put stress on the same certain techniques, things that they have. They make me make me sound like get out of my yard. But I do think that while travel ball has its great benefits for baseball and AAU for basketball, and now these 7-on-7 passing camps, which Heard a lot of the high school coaches the other day. I should say not passing camps, passing leagues where they go to California and all this. Heard a few coaches at the Arkansas 7-on-7 this week, complaining about that a little bit. Hadn't even seen my guys. He'd gone every weekend, But I'm a big guy from being back in Newport and playing everything you had the opportunity to play. And I do think it made me a more well-rounded athlete and reduced the amount of stress for injuries, and also reduced the amount of stress in my head.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's so true. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because when you play multiple sports and you have different sets of muscles that you're using for each one of those sports, it's strengthening you at your whole body, and it helps protect you, like you said, from different injuries through repetition. Also, and with that being said too, it's also a mind game of, okay, I know my body's going to keep holding up because I'm using different sets of muscles. I'm not going to be wearing my arm out, but I'm going to be wearing my legs out a little bit. But that's fine. And it's also given that set of muscle group the rest that it needs to really to recover in that off season, instead of continually using it in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, the college and major league organizations, teams have a whole department dedicated to rehabbing / refreshing. There's a big difference in the two. Rehabbing is after you're hurt. Refreshing is to keep you from getting to the point where it's going to be hurt. That's where all the cold tubs are, different stretching and wind down things that they do. I mean, when's the last time you've gone to a baseball game and been in a locker room or after the game when you haven't seen somebody with ice on their shoulder?
Yep.
And, that's just a thing. Preventive. I guess it's called preventive medicine. I think it's
preventive medicine
term they're using. And injuries happen. You do what you can to avoid them. But I think that I agree with a lot of people who have thrown out there lately that there's just too many stressful innings. You can throw 30 innings as a high school kid, but if 29 of those when you have runners on base and you have to make a pitch and you throw it with everything you've got, then it's going to cause you to put yourself in position to have more injuries than if we're throwing 30 non-stress innings.
Yep, definitely. And I want to switch gears now, and I thank you for also going over that with me. That was something I really wanted to go over last week, and we just didn't have enough time. But last night was the NBA draft, and there's a couple of Razorbacks that Kevin's talked about, and him and Picture Nation have been following through the draft process. And so last night, Jordan Walsh was drafted by the Sacramento Kings, but now he's a Celtic. Is that right?
Yeah, they drafted you know how it is before the draft is over, you can't make the trades official. And so, but obviously Sacramento was drafting for Boston. I'm excited for Jordan. I'm excited for myself because now I'll need to take trips to Boston to do stories, and I'll need to get press passes and stuff like that instead of tickets. We'll get that figured out. I have a buddy, Scott Jones, who's an orthopedic guy who is the Celtics are one of his clients. So, he spent a lot of time around their doctors lately. I thought it was funny. He went and talked to their trainer right after they got beat in the 7th game. And the dude said, "Well, I've got a little extra time now to talk to you." So, but yeah, I think that, I'm happy for Jordan. There were a lot of people who didn't think he should come out, didn't think he'd get drafted high enough. Obviously, 39th, I believe it was, 35th, somewhere in there.
37th, I do believe, is what the official was.
Miller, all running together. But I know his, but coaches say this all the time, but his best days truly are ahead of him. And excited to see him. I saw him play at Link Academy there. Actually, they had a game in Omaha, just outside of Branson, the time I went over to see him play. and I'm pretty sure I'm going to watch a lot of his NBA games. Whether however much he gets in them, we'll see. But I'm very happy for him. Very happy for me.
Most definitely. I was texting back and forth last night with Greg Thomas, former Arkansas Razorback quarterback.
Good dude.
Great dude. And I've been giving him a lot of crap here the last couple of weeks. The reason why is his team is the Houston Rockets. My team is the San Antonio Spurs.
Did not know that. I did not know your team. I did know his because he'll let you know his team.
Yep. And I'm going to tell you what, every time Houston does something crazy, I hear about it. I hear about it. Man, you can't believe what, and that sort of thing. But I was giving him crap too because Spurs picked Victor Wembanyama last night, #1 overall pick, and I told him, I was like, I understand that Victor is a basically a generational talent, but I almost would have liked for the Spurs and how they've kind of conducted their business in that taking that #1 pick and making somebody buy the entire farm for it and get some picks this year, next year, because this was a pretty deep draft, and get it maybe an all-star out of the whole deal. That would have been my way of doing it, just because you get so many pieces that the Spurs do need versus one generational talent. But at the same time, you could also make that argument and say that this guy could play literally all over the floor.
I mean this in the nicest way, but he is a generational talent, but you need a lot more down there, and you're going to continue to draft in a high position. And you cannot turn down these generational talents. I watched the thing leading up to the draft about how close Memphis was to getting LeBron instead of Cleveland during the draft lottery. And just think about where they'd be now. There'd be an adult in the room, as there is going to be with Marcus Smart. Now, Marcus Smart traded for Dylan Brooks, and let's be honest, that's what it was. They let Dylan Brooks go, and there was a lot of shenanigans there going on with the Boston and Clippers and all that. I like Malcolm Brogdon. I love Marcus Smart too, but you've got to do something. You can't keep banging your heads against the championship window and not getting over the hump and getting it done. So I'm pretty happy with Porzingis. I think that they'll continue to add some pieces. Brogdon, as long as he stays healthy. Porzingis, as long as he stays healthy. And you can't go around making decisions based on what might be. You look at how they played these last few years, and you go with it. And I believe they're better today than they were at the end of the 7th game against Miami. And that's what I appreciate that Brad Stevens, who caught a game last year at Bud Walton Arena. Little did we know at that point he was looking at Jordan Walsh, or would end up with Jordan Walsh, other than Nick Smith or Anthony Black. And how about Anthony Black?
That was great.
He had his little mini-me brother with him there last night, at the draft. And it was fun watching those guys. I went to the draft in Toronto when Corliss was drafted. Scotty did not get drafted, but that was Toronto. By the way, is the cleanest city I've ever been in my life.
Really?
I enjoyed my time there, but that was quite a scene. Last night that Courtney, probably really enjoyed. She said she used to enjoy going to the draft, but she was covering it last night. I know she was excited. And Kevin did his usual good stuff.
Always, man. Always. Well, I'm going to do a quick little buy or sell here, and we'll get you out of here. So last night, did they get better, or did they kind of stay the same on the trajectory that they're on as far as mediocrity is concerned?
Charlotte, I think that Charlotte got better. Brandon Miller, for whatever we all think about him bringing the gun to the scene, they keep saying that there's nothing they can charge him with. Legal minds are smarter than I am. I wouldn't have put myself in that situation, but I've done dumb stuff, in the course of nearly 60 years. So it's tough for me to be too critical. But I will say that, that's just I saw in the interview with him. He said he learned that he had to have the right people around him. And I was thinking, well, you should have learned that along the way before you got to that point. But I would say, I think he may turn out to be, a fabulous player. I think he will. And I think they're going to get a very pissed off Nick Smith, who I think won't have the pressure that maybe he would have if he'd have gone in the lottery to come in and be a starter right away, be a guy. It's going to be interesting now to see just how injured that knee was. And I have been very vocal. I think that the Arkansas fan base, especially the brightest that we have, the Mensa people on Twitter, who went after him in other forms of social media. I didn't think he was treated right. Yes, you have idiots in every fan base, but it's not as if the kid was saying something mean about your mama.
No.
He just wasn't being able to play, and for whatever reason, be it the knee, whether he was guarded about his NBA future and all that. This is the vitriol that went after him. I think was just and I wish him well. I've known him from the 8th grade on. He was always very polite to me. His parents were great. I just didn't think that just because he's not playing for your team or he's not playing as good as you thought he should be, you don't have to say everything, and you don't have to tweet. You don't have to post everything that comes to your mind. Luckily, I have a beautiful woman here who I show my tweets and my posts before I send them, to make sure to keep me out of trouble a little bit. Because it would be really, really good to respond in the manner that I am criticized by. But I also know that if I rise above it, that it's going to help me down the line. And that's who my parents raised. And
I agree with you on that. And I do the same thing because I have a beautiful wife at home too. And sometimes she even helps me. And she was like, "Hey, you missed a letter there, buddy." I'm like, "Oh, appreciate that. Thank you." Because you get so fired up and you start tweeting and those thumbs start going, and then it autocorrects something for you. You don't realize that you keep moving on, and then a had becomes a has or something of that nature. And
I'm not real good, and I think over the course of the 60 years, I'm not real good at being vulnerable, I think is how you say the word. But I am very passionate, and I'm slow to bull, just kind of simmer. But when I get to a point, and especially if I bite my tongue, everybody starts running because they know that's my mechanism that I'm about to lose it. And I just think that the way I've always looked at it, whether it be coaches, whether it be players, if this was my dad, if this was my son, would I be saying these same things? And I try to be fair. If you need to be criticized, you need to be criticized. But if you went 3 of 11, it wasn't because you didn't want to go 11-11, and you don't have to talk about the dude's family. You don't have to talk about his character.
Yeah.
You just say the dude needs to shoot better.
Yep. End of story. Yep. Most definitely. All right. Well, my man, I am going to get you out of here.
I didn't answer, but I'm buying. I think Charlotte's going to be okay down the line.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, man, I'm going to get you out of here. We're out of time here. And everybody make sure to check us out on hogville.net. You can also watch these streams. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch these as they pop up at hogville.net YouTube live. We also post these on hogville.net, also on Facebook and also on Twitter. Catch Dudley's stories for free on all the social media platforms. Also, Otis, we'll be coming live with Otis at 3:00 this afternoon as well. And make sure to like.
Had the greatest draft ever in the history of drafts.
What was that?
I said, did you know that the Lakers had the greatest draft in the history of draft and got exactly who Otis wanted?
Yeah, I saw that.
Record, Otis. Love you, buddy.
I saw that. Yeah, right after the Lakers had drafted, man, he had the cards already fanned out. He was taking the pick. I mean, he was so proud. He had it right on the money. He was real happy about that.
He's a fan. You know, that's the one thing about me and him for so long. You know, we don't care whether Arkansas wins or loses. I mean, I know that's hard for people to understand, but that's just how you get as you go along and you become a journalist or objective, all that. Mm-hmm. But boy, we throw all our fandom into these pro teams. You know, he's got the Yankees and the Yankees and the Lakers. I've got the Celtics, Cowboys, and the Cardinals. You know, and then Vegas, of course, the Stanley Cup champion world, Vegas Golden Knights and Manchester United and all that. But, you know, that's where we throw all our passion in sports at. And, you know, hey, good luck to Arkansas teams. But, you know, they didn't go to Omaha. Wish they would have for them. But it's been nice being around here.
I was going to say it.
You know, so
being at home in your own bed, it's always a great thing.
All right, man.
All right, y'all take care, and we'll see y'all at 3 o'clock with Otis, and we'll be back next week with Dudley. This has been the Razorback Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson on hogville.net YouTube Live. Y'all take care.